Hello, and welcome to a presentation on ERP technology. My name is Michael Pinkowski, and on behalf of Catalyst 88, I'd like to welcome you. We're going to walk you through what is ERP and how can it matter to an e-commerce company. So let me start with a brief history of ERP. What does it even mean? It turns out that it stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. So an enterprise is the entire company. The resources are the people and the products and the financial resources and things like that. And then, planning is how do you make it all go? All of which is still a terribly confusing name. And I think we'll all be better off if we think of it as a kind of a business operating system. That is, you've got a system on your computer, you're running Windows or Mac OS, you've got one on your phone, Android or iOS, and that's the system upon which your different apps run. And so an ERP system becomes that platform where your marketing app, your sales app, your inventory app, your accounting app all run. So if you think of it as a business operating system, I think you'll be a little bit ahead of the game. Let me give you just a little bit of a history. It used to be easy, right? You used to have a cash register and that told you just about everything that you wanted to know. You could go and count the cash. Everybody dealt in cash all the time. And if you wanted to know the health of the business, it was pretty easy. Go take a look in the cash drawer. If you're a little bit older like me, you can remember back to something called a Cardex system. And a Cardex system would hold, in the picture here, there's about 15 drawers, and each drawer probably holds about 50 cards. And each card would have a single SKU on it, and it would track how many items went out and what order did they go out on, and how many items came in and on what purchase order did they come in on. And ideally, you would know when you got an order, hey, we've got enough of those or we don't have enough of those, and we could then, assemble our product or ship our order or do whatever we needed to do. But it was all done on paper like that. Now we've got, of course, it's gotten much more sophisticated. There's purchase orders and there's warehouses with inventory, and we've got POS systems in our stores, and we've got money almost all over the place, right? You've got credit card accounts in different banks. Some people are taking Bitcoin and digital currencies, and we've still got to deal with cash and checks and sort all that out. So it can be complicated. And it doesn't get any simpler when you get into e-commerce. You go from all of those sort of physical systems to the digital systems of e-commerce. And specifically, we start out with something like QuickBooks, where we keep what we think are, all of the business knowledge. But if you think about it, there's a lot that's missing. If you're selling on Amazon, for instance, Seller Central has a ton of information. And you need to go there all the time to get the information that you need to run your business. And that information doesn't have a home in QuickBooks. There's no place to put it, and QuickBooks wouldn't be able to report on it if it did. So you have to go to the two places to figure out how to run your business. You may also have a Shopify store or a Magento store or something like that. And it's got its own information that neither Amazon nor QuickBooks know about, right? So you have to go there to figure out what's happening. And you might have different marketplaces. You might have a product that's pretty hot on Amazon and not so hot on your Shopify store. Your top 5 products might be different in both places. So it becomes tricky to understand what's selling where and for what prices and how well are we doing. And if that wasn't bad enough, in some cases, you're also advertising on Google and driving these people maybe to your Shopify store, maybe someplace else, and you're spending a lot of money there. So you need to understand what's going on. QuickBooks can tell you the checks that you wrote to Google, but it can't tell you anything about what worked or what didn't work. So you now have to go through all 4 of these systems to figure out your business. And that'd be fine, except we got more than these 4 systems, right? We've also got a payroll system. We're also advertising on Facebook. We're taking care of our customers in Salesforce. We've got our team handling tasks in Asana and working on stuff. So we end up having different systems with different information, and all of them are out there, and none of them are connected. So we end up with a situation where we've got data, lots of it, and no information. Your data is everywhere. But what is information? Information, I was told once, is understanding the difference that makes a difference. That is, out of all of that data, where is the part in there that's a real piece of wisdom? What is an actionable item? What is a tangible fact in your data that you can act on, either to grow your business or to prevent something bad from happening, like running out of stock or something like that? How do you get the information that you need to make good decisions when your data is all over the place? That becomes one of the critical questions and the differences between successful businesses and struggling businesses. Well, we believe that it starts with a database. And this is where we're going to start to try to walk you through what's an ERP system. What is a business operating system? Well, it starts with a database. So it starts with a collection of all of your customers, right? Get them all together in one place. What are all of the things that you sell, all of the products and or services? Let's get a list of them and everything that we know about them. What are their attributes? What are their costs? What are their sell prices? What's been the history of their costs? Let's really understand everything about our products. Let's talk to our vendors and understand who's in there. When have we bought from them? What did they charge us? What were the terms? Everything that we need to know about our vendors. And then what were the transactions of those products and customers, and where did they happen, and what were the amounts, and how did we get paid? How did we find the products to fill those orders, right? How did we purchase product? And who were the employees, and who worked on what, and what was the tasks that they were doing, and so many more things. So you start with this database that's got all of these different tables of information in them. And that becomes then the core of a modern ERP system. So this database sort of sits at the center. And when you've got all of that, just to say it again, then you can figure out what do you bill someone? Have they paid you yet, right? Are they in your accounts receivable? You can track all of that information. You can do all of your purchasing because you know your products and you know your vendors, and you can issue purchase orders, and you can control your accounts payable and when do you owe somebody, and how much do you owe them, and what are the terms on that purchase order. When the stuff finally shows up, you can understand where it is in the warehouse. What grade is it? Is it ready for sale? Does it need to be assembled? Is it a part or a complete item? Is it in some sort of inventory situation where we want to close it out? Things like that. And then you can keep track of all of your money and different banks and different credit cards and things like that. You can run your financials because you can see everything from those tables. You can see everything that's going on, and you can forecast your taxes and pay your taxes. You can take care of your customers. You can have a CRM system that says, geez, I know what all my items are. I know what all my customers are. Now I've got this conversation with a customer. And say it's an email or a live chat or something like that, and you can tie it right to that customer and right to that order. And then when a problem comes up, you can go back to that item and look and see were there other customer conversations related to that item. Again, because it's all in the same table. And then if you want to do some really advanced thinking, you start to say, well, listen, let's make a plan. Rather than just know what's happening now and what has happened in the past, let's forecast what we want to have happen. We want to end the year with $500,000 in the bank because that's where we're comfortable. Okay, what is our plan to get there? And again, you've got all of this data, so you can lay out a budget that says we think these are the products and this is what they're going to sell and this is the amount of marketing that they're going to need. And you can put together a whole budget to smartly run your system. Then you're going to have to keep track of who's in the system. So you're going to want to get it all set up. You're going to want to have security around it because this information becomes extremely valuable to your business. And you want to have user permissions on it so that Customer service people are only really dealing with customer stuff. They don't have the ability to go in and change the cost, for instance, of a product, or to change the supplier of a product, right? By the same token, you don't want the accounting people probably trying to sell products. So you can set up roles and permissions throughout the system so that each person has the tools they need to do their job, and they don't have the ability to go in and mess up somebody else's job. Once you've got all that working, you can start to have tasks. You're introducing a new product. It's got a series of things that need to happen. You can assign those tasks. You can figure out if you're on track. It ties into your budget, right? We said that sales were going to go up this year because we were going to increase the number of SKUs in our most popular product and have more colors or sizes or features or whatever. And somebody's got to do that work. So here's the task. And did it get done? Was it done on time? Are we on track with our budget? Things like that. So you can see now how this, having all this information in one place and then having these tools or modules around it starts to become really powerful. And then you can make some connections, right? You can connect out to your bank, which you can use to go out and pay your vendors. That becomes an effortless system. It actually can happen with the click of a button. And you can be talking to your customers by email and by voice and record those conversations and have copies of what happened in your system, so you can connect to outside things there. And then you can run analytics, and that allows you to really understand what's happening in the business, right? You can come up with key performance indicators, metrics that matter in your business, things that you want to track. Some companies, are going to want to make sure that they've got the lowest costs. Others are going to want to make sure they've got the highest service levels. Others are going to want to have, customer satisfaction or whatever matters to you. You can start to put in analytics because you've got all this information, and you can write the ratios that you need to cover the business and manage it properly. But you'll remember we talked about e-commerce in particular being kind of different. We're selling a lot of stuff over at Amazon. And Amazon's got a lot of information out there about the transactions, and some of our inventory might be sitting in an FBA warehouse or whatever. So that becomes a pretty critical group of data that is not inside of our system. And the same happens in our other retail channels, eBay and Shopify and whatever else we've got going on. And it gets worse, right? If we start thinking about any third-party logistics warehouses that we've got and places where we've got inventory sitting, inventory that we've ordered that is inbound and coming to us, that becomes something that we got to keep track of. I mentioned earlier we're spending a bunch of money on Google to get customers, so they've got data about what words did we buy, what did we pay for them, what happened with the visitors and the clicks and the conversions on that. And maybe we're also on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and things like that. We've got programs. And then we could have a VoIP system. We're talking to customers and we've got phone conversations, things like that. So the trick for a modern ERP system, the thing that really makes a difference, is putting in an API, an application programming interface that sits in between all of those other places where we're doing business and where they are collecting data, and it reaches out and it grabs that information and it pulls it into our core database. So all of the Amazon customers end up in our customer database, along with all of our eBay customers and all of our Shopify customers, and we can see all of them, and they're all in the single database. At the same time, maybe we've got something in our ERP system and we're saying, hey, we need to discontinue this product, and we can push a button and it goes through the API and it goes out to Amazon and eBay and Shopify, and it pauses that product. It removes the listing. So putting in an API system that keeps track of all of those different variables, brings in all the critical information, and also pushes critical information back out to the systems that are working, becomes a very, very, very powerful tool. Once you've got that, now as an e-commerce manager, you're able to really understand what's happening in your business. You can now see gross profit for a SKU that you've brought in, and you can see it for the SKU overall. You can see it for that SKU in an Amazon or in a Shopify or in an eBay or a Walmart or whatever store. You start to get very smart information, and it's all in the single database, so it comes up fast and easy. And over time, then you'll develop best practices, right? You'll say, these are the kinds of gross margins that we can expect. And if we're not hitting that, there's something wrong, and it could set off an alert, and somebody's in charge of going out and fixing that. And once you've got that, you can start to share that visually with the rest of your team through a graphic dashboard, or you could send out, say, alerts or some other kind of reports or whatever to keep track of all of the stuff that your team needs to know, so that everybody's got their hands on the right part of the business and is doing what they can to make it grow. So that's what a modern ERP system looks like. That's what a modern business operating system looks like. All right, so in summary, an ERP is a business operating system. It becomes the place where you've got all of your data and you run all of your apps, right? Again, your marketing app, your accounting app, your new product app, your launch app, your customer service app, all of that stuff runs out of a single ERP system. Because it's a centralized collection of as many data tables as you can get. And that's the customers, the transactions, the employees, the projects, the activities and tasks, all of those things. And it allows you to do smart reporting across those things. So here's an example of what that would be. Let's say that you wanted to know what is the profit that I'm making on a product after I've figured out my marketing costs for different, because of customers and stuff. That becomes a real challenge to answer. It's a great question, right? If I've got a product that I think I've got really high margin on, but I've got astronomical marketing costs, well, then it's not as good of a product as I thought it was, right? The product is not selling itself. I'm selling the product. So where are the products that kind of sell themselves, that look good, that don't cost me a ton of marketing to sell? Well, if you want to answer that question, first you got to go to QuickBooks, because that's where you've got your cost of goods sold, and that's going to tell you, by product what's going on, and you probably have to make a spreadsheet and kind of break all that out. Then you've got to figure out, what did customers cost you? Well, that's a couple of trips. You got to make one trip to Google Analytics and another trip to Facebook and maybe a trip over to Twitter and Instagram to figure out what the costs were for those customers, and only those customers that are related to the product that you want. And then you got to figure out if those things actually resulted in sales, right? So now we got to figure out, what do we sell on Amazon? What do we sell on Shopify? And now we got to take all these spreadsheets and kind of smush them together. Smart reporting in an ERP system makes that actually a pretty easy question to answer, because it knows all of that stuff. And once you can answer questions like that, it allows you to really systematize your business. And that's perhaps the greatest benefit of an ERP system, that it has these the ability to set up these systems, and your people then run the systems, and there are alerts that go off if things are out of bounds. There are charts that turn red if things are not where they're supposed to be, not in line with your budget or whatever. And that's the real power of a strong system like that. All right, so that's our overview of ERP, and we hope to be able to talk to you about more and more of it in the future. On behalf of Catalyst 88, I'm Michael Pinkowski, and I want to thank you for your time.